Welcome back here with Goldberg. Today I'm going to be responding to some content that was sent my way in which a person attempts to disprove JBW or Just Be White in the broader dating sphere. This is from Karama MGTOW, who is no longer active. And to be fair, he had some good takes, like when he was bringing up the delusional MGTOWs who will say they want to go their own way but are always whining about women. And if you suggest, a personal development improvement, they'll say that you're shaming them. He was on point in that regard. He also had some interesting content concerning black magic and also demonic possession. So depending on your background, you might find it compelling. Unfortunately, there was always a very distinct undertone of racial insecurity and resentment towards white people in his content, which would flare up in ways that I don't think he fully realized himself. So there was one video I remember, and he's going, I was at this house party with all these tall, good-looking white dudes, and I'm the short brown guy, but all the women are just obsessed and clustered around me, wanting to be near me. And I was thinking, yeah, and they're going, hey, can you top off my champagne? I mean, you're the waiter, right? I'm just saying. And then, of course, whenever a person starts talking up their sexual prowess online, with all we know about the black pill, and they don't provide evidence, it's immediately a bunch of red flags. He was an open fan of Donovan Sharp, who has been exposed by people like MGTOW Dictionary and Black Pill Truth as being Donovan's simp. He's not the red-pilled alpha that he wants people to believe he is. So that's already a problem. Add to that Karama being a big fan of anime and Japanese cartoons, which comic books and cartoons usually don't go hand in hand with getting women. Plus, whenever he would begin to sort of toot his own horn, he had this tendency towards a very nervous, insincere laugh, which could actually be a sign of deception. I just felt he was a lower value minority guy trying to live through the exploits and conquests of higher value minority men. Because if you understand the black pill, you know that it's the great equalizer. A good looking man who's tall of any race has options that other men do not. It's like they say Chad is his own race. And especially with JBW, it's not suggesting that white men get all the attractive women or only white men get women, but rather if you have certain traits, decent height, okay face, blue eyes, preferably no glasses, those things will help you both in the Western world, it will help you in other parts of the world because of social, cultural, political reasons. But of course, a lot of people, they don't want to accept the black pill. They go back to their racial chauvinism. They try to live through what other people have done who happen to be of a similar skin tone. In any case, this video begins decently when he's talking about white privilege and then just horrendously crashes from there. So we're just going to begin listening and get a sense. His first point is that white privilege doesn't really exist because as far as the tax system goes, and other questions, but then, like I said, it's a lot of arguments that seem to be pulled right out of the person's ass. It's like shooting from the hip but missing constantly.
Now, I find this hilarious because I have a very interesting perspective, right? I'm not white, I'm not black, I'm, Middle Eastern, so I can look at every other race pretty objectively.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
The only group of people where it's like, there's supposedly bad blood is, the Arabs and the Israelis, but, no one really gives a fuck about the Israelis, so we're not talking about that. But as far as...
What the hell are you talking about? No one cares about the Israelis? You heard of the Intifadas? You heard of the whole Israeli-Palestine thing and all the proxy conflicts? But to suggest that being Arab, Middle Eastern makes you some impartial observer or arbiter about race is so insulting and ridiculous that it's either deliberate ignorance or it just indicates someone who has not studied or lived in the world much, because the Middle East is a hotbed of racial conflict, held stuff like Arabs versus Persians, ethnic conflict, sectarian, denominational, Christians versus Muslims, Sunnis versus Alawites, Kurds versus pretty much everyone. Yeah, poor Kurds. Israelis versus other people, Shia, Sunni, in some cases the Sufi, the more mystic Muslims. making this type of claim is just, do you study anything? Do you know anything about your own background? It's ridiculous. So he obviously doesn't know what the word objective or objectively what they actually mean. Let's see.
You got to understand, right? Minorities, they get nervous when they're around white people, right? They get nervous when they're around white police officers because, they understand racism is real, right? But I used to have quite a few white friends, and I noticed that
Imaginary white friends.
they get nervous around every race. So, like every other race only gets really gets nervous around white people. But I see white people, they really get nervous around every other race. Like me, I have black friends, I have Spanish friends, I've had Asian friends, and we would all, go to parties together and hang out and shit, and there wasn't the same tension that there is when it's like white people going to hang out with people of other races. I noticed...
Oh my, there's just so much stuff to unpack there. So, minorities are only afraid of cops or white people, but white people are afraid of anyone. I don't know if you live in like an SJW vacuum cleaner bag or something, but that doesn't reflect reality at all. Have you ever spoken with like middle-aged or older Asian people about blacks, or even young Hispanics, the stuff they'll say about black people? I'm like, what the heck? African people, what they'll say about American black people. I mean, you talk about white supremacy, like it's astonishing. I had a coworker some years back, older man from Nepal. He said he wanted Trump in office because he was sick of all the Hispanics in his neighborhood, right? This is off-the-boat immigrant, quite brown, speaks with an accent, and he's like, I don't like those people. So the suggestion that somehow minorities are all one monolith together and all the whites are afraid of them, but it's only them being afraid of the whites, is just, it's so stupid and idiotic. Plus, you have to think of context, and this could apply to any race. Would you take like a short, diminutive, old white woman? She's walking down the street and she sees Amr Metwali, 6'3", Arab looking. She might be kind of intimidated, right? At least until he goes, what's up, what's up, what's up, man? Now, in contrast, if a white person were to see this creature coming down, celebrating how feminine their style is, they'd be like, okay, a short incel, and keep going. So context matters, but like I said, this guy sounds as though he doesn't know any white people. Or maybe he only knows white leftists, I don't know. Let's see here.
It's like everyone in the room is looking at them like they're the devil, because the media portrays white people as the devil. So it's like everywhere you go, if you're not around other white people, you're being looked at as the devil. I've got to be honest, I don't know if I could handle that kind of pressure. The only people that I feels kind of awkward is like certain white people. I'm like, are they like a low-key white supremacist or some shit like that? But
dude, I think you're the low-key racist, and I think it comes out very strongly in this video. So now you're admitting that the minorities are all viewing whites as the devil. So are the minorities racist, or is that just normal because of racism? Just a suggestion, just a question there, I guess. Let's skip ahead here.
You have to be white, or like white guys have an easier time getting laid or whatever. I'm really not finding this to be true, man. I mean, I've taken so many women, white girls, from white guys.
Like all the videos he watched on Pornhub, that's what
I noticed that women view white guys as good providers, but they don't really view them as the bad boys they want to fuck. Like, I noticed a lot of Asian women gravitate towards white men, but that's because they want stability, not because they really think white men are the sexiest. And a lot of Asian women actually cheat on white men with black men. Same thing with white women. Like, here's the thing, man. White women aren't even loyal to white men. So...
Okay, so Karama conflates dating and marriage, which is a false argument to make, and tries to make all whites a monolith, which is, again, confirming the fact that he probably doesn't know many white people. And then minorities are monoliths. So minority men, regardless of personality, height, experience, are all these kind of bad boys. The white men are all kind of the bean counters who are just there to provide. Well, a white woman or an Asian woman or any other race of woman at 18 or 20, unless she is a traditionalist, she's not looking for a provider, she's looking for someone to date. So the logic there, there's no logic. Uh, if you want financial support, unless you're planning to get married, if you're just trying to screw a dude, you're going to go for a guy you find attractive when you're younger. That's typically what they do. And the idea that the Asian women only marry them because they want a provider is kind of stupid, because you'll see Asians, chicks who become like dentists or doctors, and they'll marry a white guy who doesn't have much going for him. He's got like an average income. They're doing that. Why? Because of looks? Maybe because he's more racially acceptable? I don't know. But the point being, why would you marry someone who makes less money if you just want a provider? You also have people like Nikki Haley. She married her husband, who's not a particularly good-looking white dude, and he came to work for her family company where she was already CFO. So there again, is he a provider? He ended up joining the military. In the military, you don't make that much money. And then she was governor of a state and an ambassador. So even if you say they cheat on someone on the side, they could cheat on a guy of any race. And the whole concept suggests that minority men are never providers, which is idiotic. The entire term simp, I believe, comes from the black community. And it's a guy who basically grovels and serves his queen at all times. So again, I feel this dude is either talking out of his ass or just doesn't know white people. I think these are all imaginary. The white women he dated, the white people who come up and spread their fears of being viewed as a devil. I've never heard of someone doing that. Let's see.
For guys like behind his back, like I've got homies in the hood, man, like black guys who are fucking the shit out of so many white women, because women want everything, right? They want stability, but one thing we don't talk about is they want that good dick, right? And it's no secret that a lot of white guys are jealous of men of color because the dick game, for the most part, is just bigger with other races. Now, me being Middle Eastern, at least when it comes to the dick thing, I'm closer to being a black guy than I am a white guy, if you know what I'm talking about. So I've never.
Okay. So we have the Modic argument, which is obviously highly intellectual. I believe the largest recorded appendage of a male that's actually been measured was on a white guy. But frankly, that's an immaterial question. I don't know how Karama verifies that these stereotypes are accurate. Maybe he goes around measuring or squeezing different men, maybe putting it in his mouth just to verify. I don't know. You just have to, you always have to ask the question whenever people are 100% in favor of such stereotypes. Yeah, you really just have to, you really have to ask the question. So we go ahead slightly here.
Met a white woman who hasn't fucked at least a handful of guys from other races. So it's not like because you're white that white women are going to be loyal to you. Like, white women are the least loyal race of women on the planet. So
could you be more specific? You see, this is the type of statement or claim that would be made by someone who obviously doesn't get out much, like potentially an incel living in the mom's basement 23 hours a day. Because think about it for a second. Depending on where you are, so if you're a minority in the United States and you're not in a hotbed of your same ethnic group, you're not in like an Italian in Little Italy or a black person in Harlem, and you're around a lot of white people, you will start assuming that the white people you know are a reflection of all whites, right? Just like if I were to get an international contracting job and I go work, let's say, in the capital of Ghana, and I got a good income, I'm a tall white dude, I'm exotic, I'm diverse there. There's a certain number of women I'm going to be able to bag simply because of that factor, that some women want the different. But if I were then to say, after sleeping with some Ghanaian women, oh yeah, they're the least loyal on the planet, now only an ignoramus would make that claim, because most Ghanaian women, just like most white women, are dating or marrying white men of their own race. So a Ghanaian woman is probably going to end up dating or marrying a Ghanaian man, or maybe another African man of sorts. These sorts of statements, again, it's like just pulling it out of the ass, recycling the TP. I mean, it's just, man, seriously, think before you talk. It sounds moronic.
To be white, I'm sorry. Like, it's just, Not to mention genetically, man. Like a lot of this, like I see like white dudes in their 30s and 40s, like their dick starts to not work and they have to use Viagra. I don't know any of my friends, like any of my Middle Eastern friends or any of my black friends or even any of my Spanish friends who like need Viagra to get their dick up. Like, I gotta be honest, man. It's been proven that like Europeans just kind of have weaker genes as far as that goes. Now, this
Where's the evidence of that, though? You see, and again, all these imaginary white people are going and confessing that they've got sexual problems to Karama, but all his friends who are of different races, again, thinking monolith-wise, don't have those problems. And if they had those problems, the first person they would confess to would be Karama, naturally, right? You know, you have to be so naive to believe anything that this dude spews on this subject. Um, and I was not able to find anything about Viagra usage by race, but even if that was the case, I would imagine maybe it's because whites have higher income overall. If you were to look at lifestyle of the typical white or black or Hispanic American, our diets, unless you follow like vegan or all organic, whatever, keto, carnivore, if you have a typical American diet, which is heavy in fried foods, processed stuff, ready to eat content, how much different is our lifestyle and what we're consuming? So this argument doesn't make any sense from that position either, and there's no evidence provided. It's like, oh yeah, trust my sources. Yeah. Again, the insecurity is strong in this one. Let's see.
this isn't even me trying to shit on white people. It's just I'm making a valid objective analysis.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
So I'm just not seeing why it's so great to be white anymore. Like, look, if we were living,
Because you don't even know white people, and actually obviously haven't traveled or seen the content that people put out, black pill content, which exposes what's going on in modern dating. But again, you have to have a certain level of humility. If you're clinging to your racial chauvinism because you're insecure, you're not going to like the black pill, regardless of what race you are, to be perfectly clear. Because yeah, there are white dudes who don't do well with women. But that's not the point of JBW. It's not the point of when people are making this claim.
I have white guys who come up to me and they're like, bro, everywhere I go, like people of other races are looking at me like I'm the devil. You know, I'm like, I don't know if I can handle that kind of.
It's funny because I can't tell you how many articles I've seen ever since like Trump became president of people looking at me this way because I'm a minority, people not liking my turban or my burqa. Again, this guy doesn't get out much, or he's just spewing BS because he wants to make a point, because he doesn't want to concede that certain, variables tend to fall in a particular manner when it comes to dating. Uh,
As a man of color, I can go to other countries. I can live in the Middle East comfortably. If America ever goes to shit, I can easily just go live in the Middle East, like no problem. Like a lot of these white guys, where are they gonna go if their country goes to shit? And where they really feel accepted. Europe is going to shit too. So
Okay, that's another statement that's just so questionable. If you go to the Middle East, first of all, have you paid attention to the fact that the Middle East has been at war for the most part for the last like 20 or so years? I know it's not just the United States there. There's a whole lot of things going on, little proxy conflicts, very unstable countries. You go to the Middle East with your mentality and your black magic and demonic possession, you're going to see how they're going to treat you, my friend. And it's funny because he mentioned in another video how like Arab women know how to treat men in the correct way. If you listen to Amr Metwali, he's got good content about what's actually going on in Muslim societies. If you look at, there's a girl, she did a book on Saudi Arabia, the culture there. This was early 2000s. She's talking about these women who have a privilege, whatever, traditional system, screwing other men behind the backs, taking trips to screw foreign men, having lesbian relationships. So it's like Karama's very naive about his own background and about these basic concepts of the black pill. Now, this is a very recent video, so it's like, okay, you're obviously not consuming this stuff or you just haven't experienced much of the world, which I guess that could be understandable. But this is why I really encourage guys. The value of the black pill is that it will take away a lot of your prejudices, and it will make you see, okay, certain things are consistent. As I said before, a tall, good-looking guy has options others don't. You can get angry over it, but you start to realize what women go for, and it makes more sense instead of trying to say that, well, it's just because they're brainwashed or it's just because this, that, the other. You're like, okay, it's not that this guy has game. It's that looks matter, height matters, and that is what women go for 9 times out of 10, or money. That's the other factor, or status. So if you have any other stuff you want to see me discuss, please drop it in the comments.